All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start sharing my screen for today's class. And thank you all for coming today. I know I realize everybody's busy, but I am so glad that you all make it to us. Here we go. Oh. Hello, Melody. Good morning. Welcome to our class today. And so we've basically been talking about, we've been learning information about what TEA says, that is the school's responsibility to you as a parent, and what are your rights as a parent and things like that. But today we're going to be talking a little bit more about ourselves and what kind of leadership skills we need to really become these change agents in our schools, in the school system. So this is going to be more directed towards ourselves and our skills, and kind of honing those skills that we need to become true leaders in the community and in the school. Let's see. So we have our agenda for today, and if I can get anybody to read it for me, please. Maybe somebody who's not driving, either Melody or Belinda.
I can read it. Icebreaker number one. Number two, Jovita Adar and Emma Temayuka. Third, definitions. Fourth, leadership skills and communication. Fifth, leadership skills building community. And final is leadership skills becoming an advocate.
Okay, thank you so much. And we're going to go over, we're just going to briefly go over some of these, because actually some of these we're going to have actual classes on them. So we're just going to touch on some of these. But for today, we wanted to develop our our leadership skills and feeling confident about talking about ourselves, and just kind of doing this thing where we are just going to share, and we're going to feel very confident about just sharing things about ourselves, because that is how we make connections with people. So that's why our first icebreaker is just introduce yourselves, and yes, we all know your names, but introduce yourselves and share three facts about yourself. And I'm going to ask the staff to do this too. Um, so, uh, I want to know either one of your hobbies or a talent that you have, your favorite food or your most disliked food, and number three, something that you are very proud of, that you've either overcome, or just something that you've done that you're very proud of. So I'd like for you to share that about yourself, and I'll go ahead and start. So my name is Elizabeth Huber, and I have a ton of hobbies and things that I know how to do. And so right now, I've kind of been working on, I love doing crafts. I have a hard time living in the house where I'm at right now, because I don't have any room for my crafts. So like I have my crafts distilled to like a drawer in my house, and then like I have to put everything under my cardboard. So one thing that I do is I make like little headpieces to wear for the different festivals we have in San Antonio. So this is one thing that I'm working on right now for Dia de los Muertos. So that's one thing that I do. Um, Also, I make jewelry. Like I made these earrings and stuff. So I love being creative, and I love doing little arts and crafts like that. And I think that's just our family, because our family likes to do that stuff. Um, as far as favorite food, I feel like I can't even say, because I obviously I like food, and but I can say that the food that I can never ever eat ever is seafood. Nothing, no shrimp, no nothing. I cannot, I don't, the most I can do is like tuna in a can. That's about it. But I can't eat any kind of seafood at all. I can go to a seafood restaurant and I'll usually find something to eat, even if it's just a salad, but I can't eat seafood at all. And something that I'm very proud of is, I've had to really change, and you know, so many times in my life. Like I moved from Laredo to California and had to start brand new in, my work and everything and our lives. And then when my husband and I split up, I had to start brand new again with, in Laredo, back in Laredo, because I had at that time I was living in California. And then now that, I went when I recently became disabled, I couldn't do my job anymore. I couldn't live in San Antonio anymore for a while. So I had to start brand new with all of that as well. So I to me that's something that I'm very proud of, is that I'm, that I've always been able to figure out how my life is going to work out now. Now that I'm in this new phase, I'm like, I've accepted the change that I can't, there's things that I can't do anymore. There's things that are brand new, and I'm just going to have to start doing them. So I've been able to go ahead and just start my life over again with this brand new way or brand new place that I'm in or brand new phase of my life that I'm in. So that's something that I'm very proud of. Um, if any of maybe Maribel, I don't know if you'd like to start or.
No problem, unless somebody's jumping over here and saying like Melody or Belinda or Dorothy want to share. Anybody feeling compelled? If not, I can go.
I can go.
Go ahead.
I guess my name is Dorothy Borges. My hobbies or talents, honestly, talents is being able to talk to people on a personal level. Hobbies, I don't want to say I'm a crafty person, but everybody says I am. If you have a job and I don't know how to do it, trust me, I'll Google it and YouTube it, and I'll find a way to do it. My favorite food or most disliked food, honestly, I hate leftovers. I cannot eat it. Even if you go to, let's just say we're going to Olive Garden and I have leftovers, I will not eat it. I will put it in the refrigerator and I won't touch it for the rain because it doesn't taste the same. Um, and then something that I'm very proud of. I am very proud of um, my daughter because she is the first great grandchild that was able to speak, write, and read Spanish. None of my grandma's great grandkids can do that. Um, they're all English speaking, and it started with her, and then after her, that's when my mom had pushed my niece and nephew to speak, read, and write Spanish. So it started off with me and my daughter, because I wanted her to communicate with her grandparents as well as my grandma, which is her great grandmother.
Thank you, Dorothy. Would anybody else like to share?
I'll go next. I guess a hobby of mine would be I like going to vintage shops and like thrifting, which is kind of bad because I probably have a lot of stuff that I don't need. Um, my favorite food, I guess, would be Italian food. I love spaghetti, garlic bread, favorite. And something I'm very proud of. Um, I guess I'd have to say I'm very proud of my son, Michael. Right now he's at a training, but he was selected in Leadership TASB out of 36. It's like trustees out of Texas, and they selected 36. So he's the very first one ever in Edgewood to do this master trustee program. So proud of him. And
Um,
just seeing that there's other people out there that actually want to help him and teach him. I mean, I'm really grateful for that.
That's really good. Thank you, Dorothy. I mean, thank
Melody.
Melody. I'm sorry.
I can go next, if y'all want. Well, my name is Maribel Gardea. I've been practicing the how you introduce yourself because typically I'm like, I'm a mom, right? I'm a mom of two children. I'm a community advocate, an activist for education, and I am the executive director of Mindshift Ed. My hobby or talent, man, I don't know. I like to do art. I do like to paint. I like to do unconventional art with recyclable materials. Just make something out of nothing is always my goal. Make it look like it's so expensive, but it's like parts that I've found like in the recycle or like in the dump or something, like boxes or things like that. So I just like to polish up things. And Dia de los Muertos is coming up, so that's one of my biggest talents, I guess you could say, that we do an altar for our family, and our usually it's typically our abuelitas, abuelos, but any relative that's passed away, it's just important to honor them and keep that cultural aspect alive, and just for the kids, right? Because my kids don't really know them, and so I think it just brings a lot of culture to our home. Favorite foods. I love that Dorothy says she doesn't like leftovers because I don't like them. I'll eat them, but I prefer not to eat leftovers. But so I hear you, Dorothy. But my favorite food is ceviche, which is interesting because I know Liz is like no seafood, and I'm like all seafood. Um, I didn't realize I liked it so much, and until I started doing some date nights with my husband, and that's where we just end up at. It's light, it's not so heavy, but it's more like the Mexican ceviche, right? It's not so much just seafood, traditional American seafood. It's like more fresh, like octopus and like, crab. I'm not a super fan of shrimp. I don't know why I don't like the rubbery cooked shrimp, but I like the raw shrimp, which is really weird. So yeah, ceviche is my thing. And I am very proud of, man, something I'm very proud of. I am proud of, ooh, that's a hard one. There's a lot of things to be proud of. I mean, we always say our kids, right? Okay, our kids. I am proud of my son, and both of them, right? Because my son has learned to use his device with his eyes, which is a challenge, and he's able to communicate. So I'm very proud of him for that. And then I'm proud of my other son because he wakes up really early in the morning and he has a lot of drive. I don't have to drag him out of bed. I don't have to convince him to do his work. He is his own man, and he's like, he wakes up, he's on time, he's punctual, which is everything I want for him as an adult. And so I'm very proud of them growing up and becoming young men. That's it. Thank you.
I guess it's my turn. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I'm Belinda, and my favorite food is seafood. I can eat seafood every single day, though I do have problems eating now. Um, but I can eat seafood every day, and I don't like. I really don't like pizza. It used to be one of my favorites, but since my transplant, I turned everything around. I don't know if it's true what they say. Sometimes you get the likes of the other person, but I do not like pizza. I will not eat it unless it's like there and I just don't want to show them my disrespect for pizza. I'll just eat one but I don't like pizza at all. My favorite hobby was oil paintings. I used to do a lot of oil paintings and I was very creative at school. Everybody's like, Belinda, what kind of design should I do or something? And I would be able to do that. But I don't know. I was thinking right now, I got sick. I was in a ventilator for almost 6 months. And when I got out, it's like, I kind of forgot everything. So I can't really say that's my hobby now. I'm still not sure what I'm capable of doing, but I'll get there. And proud of is, I don't know, I've been thinking, and I shouldn't say this, but I think I'm proud of myself because I was used to my husband doing everything for us. We would travel. I know my husband was a conqueror, but I felt like I was more of a conqueror because, I would just be at home and bring me the money. And we would go on vacation all the time. Like I told the kids, Jubilee told me one time, Mom, all my friends go everywhere. We don't get to do anything. I said, Jubilee, I believe everybody in this world gets to go places before they die. I said, you cannot say that. You traveled almost the whole world. I said, before your dad passed away. I said, we've been everywhere, every summer, every spring break or something, take off. And now we don't. But I'm proud of myself because one way or another we struggle, but we get what we need, you know. And I'm proud of my kids because they're all adopted. My kids are all adopted, but um, I don't know, they were all special need kids. I don't know why I got all special need kids. I believe all the moms that have special need kids are special. And I think God made us for a purpose to have those special need kids because we, somewhere or another, know how to work with them. My son, they told me he was going to be MR and he wasn't going to walk. And he turned out to be pretty smart. Right now, he's kind of lazy, but he's pretty smart. Jubilee had autism, and I'm proud of where she is right now. And they've never disrespected me. I talk to them and get after them, and they just put their head down and, sorry, Mom, we won't do it again. But, for them being adopted, I hear a lot of bad things about kids that get adopted, but I am very close to my kids, all of them, even though one of them I do have problems with, but she tells me off, but at the same time, she calls me back and, I'm sorry, Mom, I love you. I always know that I can come to you no matter what I've done bad to you. I still can come to you and you still wind up helping me. And, that's right now, that's all I can say.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Belinda. And I think it's actually a very good thing. You can say that you're proud of yourself because yeah, some of us have overcome a lot of things. So, and I know that it's especially for Latina women, we kind of live through our families, but we have, especially if we're going to be leaders in the community, we have to feel that pride in ourselves as well, that we are able to overcome so many things and we are still here, we're still standing no matter what has come our way. Delia, would you like to share?
Hi everybody, my name is Dana Reese. What's the hobbies? One of my hobbies is, let me turn my screen. I like to color. I like to do coloring and I like to do DIY stuff too. Like if I don't have to spend money on fixing something, I'll look it up, Google it, fix it myself. Well, I do not like chocolate or peanuts. My favorite food would be like enchiladas and rice. My mom used to make the best, but not rice ever. And I'm proud of my son and myself, actually. It's been me and him for quite a long time, just me and him. So we managed to, get by and do what we need to do. But yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Verónica, ¿quieres compartir con nosotros tus talentos, tu comida y algo que estés de que estés muy orgullosa?
A ver, Liz, ahora voy a probar un método que encontré aquí. A ver, ustedes me dicen qué tal se oye.
I like music and braiding. The food I like are Mexican enchiladas. What I don't like is octopus. And I am proud of my family and to be here with you.
Ok.
Gracias.
Gracias, Verónica. Ah, órale. Y la estás haciendo con el Google Translate.
Yes, I am.
Translate.
Yes, I am. 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 Yes, I am
¿Cómo
Es
le-
una aplicación nueva que encontré, no sé cómo se pronuncia, pero yo hablo lo que quiero y ella lo traduce al idioma que yo quiero.
Oh, ok, pues qué bueno, qué bueno. Okay. And I want to thank you all for sharing. And again, a lot of this is just getting us super comfortable with talking about ourselves and being able to share of ourselves with other people and to be able to make those connections because those are going to serve us well when we're trying to get our community together is being able to make those personal connections with other people. So right now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna watch a little video. And, I don't know if you all know who Jovita Hidar is. Does anybody know who Jovita Hidar is? She's
I don't
actually
know.
from Laredo. She's an activist from Laredo. And, and, sometimes we don't know about these people. We've never learned about them in school. I never learned about these people in school, but here, there's two reasons for. And number one, it's Hispanic Heritage Month, so it's good to get a little history. But also, these people were change agents. They were activists. Despite the things that came their way, they were able to be leaders. They were able to change things. They were able to do a lot of things in the community. So I want you to all to just learn a little bit about them. So this is Jovita Hidalgo. She's the one that's from Laredo. Can you all hear?
Yes.
Okay.
After leaving her job as a teacher, Mexican-American journalist Jovita Hidar used her father's weekly newspaper to advocate for women's rights. Through her writing for LA Crónica and against the backdrop of the Mexican Revolution, Hidar urged women to educate themselves so they wouldn't have to rely on men. Her motto, when you educate a woman, you educate a family. Hidar joined the first Mexican Congress in Laredo and then founded the League of Mexican Women, becoming its first president. She began writing for El Progreso and authored an editorial critical of President Woodrow Wilson's order to send military troops to the U.S.-Mexico border. When the Texas Rangers arrived to shut down the paper because of her article, Hidar stood in front of the door, refusing to allow them to enter. In 1921, she moved from Laredo to San Antonio, where she continued to be a voice for women and established a free kindergarten.
Okay, so she, Jovita, did this she stood up to the Texas Rangers. She was a journalist, a reporter, even at a time when women didn't do those kinds of things. So that's that. She was actually on the 25 cents on the quarter. Her face was on there. So she's actually a very important figure that many times we don't learn about in our schools. And then the next one, oops, sorry. There we go. All right. So Emma Temayuca, does anybody know about Emma Temayuca? She's a little bit more famous here in San Antonio. Does anybody know?
She led the pecan sheller strike,
Yes,
right?
yes. And she in San Antonio, I think a lot of people know her name, but for those of you all that don't know, and again, also because it is Hispanic Heritage Month, we're just getting a little history here.
1938, San Antonio, Texas was home to about 400 pecan shelling plants. Here, a workforce of mainly Mexican and Mexican-American women endured dangerous conditions for as little as $1 a week on average. On January 31st, when owners of a major processing plant tried to cut wages even further, the workers said enough. 12,000 employees walked out on their jobs. They elected 21-year-old Emma Temayuca, already a labor activism veteran, to lead their efforts. Temayuca organized pickets, distributed flyers, and set up soup kitchens for the workers on strike. The powerful plant owners used police forces to attack the workers. For 3 months, strikers endured tear gas and billy clubs. Police arrested more than 1,000 workers. Eventually, the strikers prevailed. The deal was struck to pay the pecan shellers a minimum wage. I never thought in terms of fear. I thought in terms of justice. Hamilton Youth and the pecan shellers became a symbol for workers' rights across the country. They showed the power of standing up together. In 1938, San Antonio, Texas was home to.
Right. So thank you all for listening to those videos. And again, like I said, it's just talking a little bit about this whole aspect of leadership. And sometimes we think we can't, we feel doubts within ourselves and we say we are not able to do these things. But these ladies did it at a time when women didn't do these things at all. And like I said, Emma Temayuga, she was 21 when they asked her to be the leader. She was 21 years old. So a lot of times it's just about finding our strength and finding our voice and developing those leadership skills so we can build a community around us. So right now we're just gonna wanted to do a little bit of a, defining what some of these terms are. Can I get anybody? It's a Belinda or Melody or Dorothy to read the definition there.
Sure. A change agent is a champion for progress within an organization. They bridge the gap between the need for change and its successful implementation. This change is driven through the clear communication, addressing concerns, and helping the community adapt.
So that's a really big thing, is to be a change agent, because you are looking for to make this change, especially when you're talking about something like the school system. That is a really big thing that it is going to resist change, because the school system as a whole is like, well, we don't need to be changed. We're, we've done things this way for so long. And so when you come up and you ask questions and you demand things, they're like, they're not ready for those kinds of things. So if we want to become we want to become change agents for the community, for the school system. Can I get somebody else to read the definition for a leader regarding to like a parent leader?
It says leader, a parent who has the skills and knowledge to represent the need of parents and help shape the directions of their communities and programs. Parents leaders can also support other parents, teachers, and students and encourage other parents to take on leadership roles.
Okay, thank you. And I think most of us know what a leader is, but I think it's important to look at the definition, see all of the things that a leader does, because, some people think, well, a leader is just, the person that stands up front and talks. But a leader does a lot of things. They solicit information, they talk to the people, they find out what those people need. It's not just about being upfront and saying, well, I'm doing this. It's a lot, and it's also encouraging other people to step up and do some of those leadership roles, right? So one of the things that we want to develop our leadership skills, and one of the most important ones is communication. And if you notice, and you're going to be seeing this whole thing about your story and your voice a lot in our classes because I feel like really, and that's actually for a lot of a lot of organizations are like this as far as um, connecting with people by being able to tell your story. And the first way we tell our story, one of the our first steps in telling this story is basically to we need to find our voice. Excuse me. And because that's uh, when you find your voice, I think that that's important to know is you don't need to find something new inside of you. What you need to do is find more of you. You need to have the freedom and the confidence to say, you know what I have to say matters. What I, you know, I bring something to the table, either with my experience or with my knowledge, with the things that I've done, with the things I've overcome. I am able I have a reason to speak because a lot of times that's the way we feel. We feel like, oh, why should anybody listen to me? I'm just this person. I'm not anything. I'm not anything special. Whatever. And we women definitely have that issue, and Latina women definitely have that issue a lot, especially if they have a language barrier. They're always feeling like they're kind of over here on the bottom. We're always like putting everything else up instead of ourselves. So that's one of the most important things is being able to tell your story and finding that voice to be able to say, hey, I have something to say, and it's an important thing. Um, the other portion is, of course, to tell our story and then refine our message. And we're going to talk a little bit about each of these steps, okay? Um, so, what we said, the finding our voice is our first step in being able to tell our story. And I just have a little exercise that we're going to do here to practice. Again, it's a practice and practice and practice. It just talking and understanding and being able to just say those words. And the more we practice, the better off we are. So I want to for you all to do a little exercise. I want you to think about things that you have experienced doing. So, what things have you done in your lives that you have a lot of experience that you're able to say, you know what, if I needed to teach somebody to do this, I probably could. I want you to think about something that you're very knowledgeable about, either your field of study or something that that you've realized that not everybody knows. Something that you've done some research on, maybe. And then I want you to tell me either a thing or a situation, a problem that you've been able to overcome, right? And I want you to think about that. And I'm going to go ahead and just share with you um, what the answers to these questions, the answers to this for myself. Um, as far as things that I have experienced doing, I have uh, a lot of experience doing a lot of things, and probably the chief among them is actually doing this, leading workshops like this. They were in different topics, but definitely being able to come, and especially if we were in person, that's something that I have a lot, probably, you're talking probably like 20 something years, more than that, experience doing workshops, leading seminars, leading, day-long trainings, things like that. I've done them for, the 4 or 5 ladies that we have today, to like a whole lecture hall full of people. So I just have a lot of experience doing that. As far as things I'm knowledgeable about, um, my field of study is child development, so I'm fairly knowledgeable about that, but those things change very fast. I would say if there's something I am knowledgeable that I can probably talk a little bit about right now is kind of being disabled and having low vision and being a diabetic. I know what I should be doing. I know what things I should be eating. I know, as far as being disabled, how it's I have firsthand knowledge of how different your life is when you used to be able to do all of these things and now your life is very limited. So that's something that I have a little bit of knowledge about, and I can, if somebody were to ask me, oh, I can give you some information about that. And as far as things and situations that I've overcome, again, I would say to that, just having to start over again so many times. I think the hardest one wasn't even being disabled. That was a little work because I lost some independence. Well, a lot of independence with that. Being able to drive is a big thing for me. I've always wanted a car for myself. Even when my ex-husband had a car, I always wanted a car because I never wanted to be stuck at home. And unfortunately, that's what happens to me now. But as far as things and situations that I've overcome, I think the hardest one was when, I had been married for 20 years and my husband went to Mexico on a contract and he never came back. It wasn't that we split up and we were having problems and we just decided that we were going to get divorced and whatever. No, he just didn't come back. He just didn't come back, and that's what happened. And so I just had to pick everything up and figure out what I was going to do and start my, and I was in California. My whole entire family lived in Laredo, and I was in California, and my husband decided to go to Mexico and not come back. And so I had to somehow pick myself up and figure out what I was going to do and restart my life over again, basically from scratch. So I would say that's probably one of the toughest situations I've ever overcome. So now I'm going to ask you all, what are some, as far as these 3 questions, or these 3 things that I'm asking of you all, what is something that you can share with me?
I guess for me personally, things, situations that I've overcome. Me being raised, my mom was a single mom of 4. Mind you, she also had to deal with my sister that was MR, deaf, and bipolar. But that, I feel like that we never used as an excuse. We always overcame every obstacle that whatever hit my mom, we did it as a family. For me personally, things that I've overcame, that I'm seeing that my daughter's seeing that I'm overcoming, is public speaking. For one, I feel like I've never been the person that's been in front of the camera, or I've always been the back burner and saying, oh, I can help you over here, but just, I don't want to get the credit. I don't want to be known. I've always been the one that always like, I'll help you, but don't say that it was because of me. I didn't want to get the credit. And now realizing how much of an impact that I make, not only for my own family and myself, but for everyone around me. And now that I'm running for school board for Edgewood, I see what I'm overcoming doing public speaking, which yesterday we had a forum. And I didn't think I mean, honestly, everyone said I did a good job. And I was just like, man, I was just nervous and shaking. But then I saw my daughter there looking at me. And it's like, you know what? If I can do it, she can do it.
Thank you, Dorothy. Does anybody else have anything they want to share?
I just want to tell Dorothy she did do amazing, and I got feedback from other people, and they said you did great. So it's not just coming from us. They said actually you did the best. So, but I mean, I think it's a learning experience. I think for me, things that I have experience doing, I think, I mean, I have experience going through the adoption process. I adopted my nephew when he was 10. So I had a kinship adoption, gone through numerous trainings, as far as how to be like a certified foster home. But we did have to overcome a lot because he just came with a lot of social emotional issues. And I'm just glad, like now he's 21 years old, he's working, and he's overcome a lot. So I'm just very proud of him.
Well, you know, but I guess she thought you were laughing at her. She'll be 100%.
Sounds like Belinda's next.
Oh, okay. Well, me, it's the same like Dorothy. I came from a very poor family. We were 15 of us. I was a year old when my mother, my father passed away, and she was expecting her 15. You really didn't have much, and I think I've overcome, a lot of all that. And also, you know, I learned, like Jubilee was telling me this morning, oh, mom, I was so disappointed in myself because I don't think I did great. My mind just went blank. I said, no, I mean, it was your first time. You learn, as you're growing, you learn every day. And as you get older, you learn more, and just learn to be open and do your best and be transparent and be honest what you think, you know. And I feel like as Latinas that we need to learn to fix each other's crown, because I don't know, we have like a lot of these Latinas have so much pride. I'd say, look at all these white people. They always praise each other up, and us, you know, oh, she's better than me. Some way or another, we try to have envy, and we need to learn to raise each other up and lift each other up, fix each other's crown. I also am proud because um, I've I'm learning to be a single parent. I wasn't used to being a single parent, and it is hard, but I take it day by day. And also, I've had good friends, Melody, Aggie. They've really helped me so much. She really goes, "Oh, is Melody one of your Betsies?" Because I have one of my best friends. She goes, "Oh, now you have Melody too." I said, "The thing is with Melody, she's never, I've never heard her curse, and she does the best to always kind of lift me up. And I really thank her for that. And Aggie, well, we always fight, but we're always together." And I think I'm happy.
And we're the chismosas.
Well, we're now the chismosas, called the chismosas. But,
the little birdies.
AKA las chismosas.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to let you all go because they already called us for our doctor's appointment.
Thank you, Belinda.
Thank you, Belinda.
Thank you, Belinda.
Love you. Bye.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
Hi. So what I heard a lot about is things that I don't have any knowledge about, or not a lot of knowledge. Like I heard um, talking about, oh, well, I know about the adoption process, and I know about, having a sibling that has delays and MR and things like that and severely disabled. Those are things I don't have any knowledge about. So I think that it's very important that we recognize that we have all this information to share with other people, information that other people might not have. So that's what I want you all to really take that with you, is that you have something to share. You have information that other people might not have. Even by coming to these classes, there's information that you all are able to share with parents that they might not have. Because a lot of parents are just not informed. So it's very important that you know that you do all bring something to the table that maybe not other people have, or not a lot of other people have. So
And I do like really quick what Belinda said, like we have to lift up each other.
yes,
But it's unfortunate, like at the school districts, sometimes they don't appreciate that. They don't appreciate the people talking and bringing up the issues. So it's like that's a big thing to overcome. Like, what
yes,
do you do?
yes. And the thing is that, as you've seen with TEA, they have to do that. I don't care how much they don't like it. I don't care how much they're not used to it. There's this thing with the school district that they feel like that they've been kind of had this feeling that, oh, they're the ultimate authority, and parents are supposed to, they're not used to parents questioning them. So when you are able to say, well, TA says this, you're supposed to do this for us, then they're like, like they get all freaked out and very unhappy because now you're questioning their authority. So yeah, they don't like it very much. So when we're talking about telling your story, and I just went back to one of the first classes we had where we were talking about the importance of being able to tell your story to others. It promotes self-understanding for yourself. It helps you connect with others because maybe others are going through the same thing. They need that information from you. Maybe it inspires others because, oh, well, they were able to go through it. Oh, I can go through it too. It promotes empathy and understanding from people that maybe haven't gone through what you've gone through. And as you practice and you keep telling your story more and more, it helps define and refine your story. And what we're going to do right now is we're going to think about what that story is. We have to, um, kind of, I would say, because I heard a linguist once told me that, as you know, los gringos, the Americans, they're used to talking like, okay, it's the story starts here and then it just goes in a straight line and it ends here. And whereas we as Latinos, we start a story here and then we go here and then we go there and then we go this way and this way and this way. And until we get there. And that's the way we talk because that's just the way we are. So what we want to do is we want to, you know, refine our story. We want to help it. We want to help define it, and we want to refine it so that we are able to tell it when wherever we are. We want to get people over. We want to find our community. We are able to tell our story. Uh, so this is an exercise, and nobody has to share, but what I want you all to think about, just like a kind of a reflection exercise, is go back and think about maybe an event or a situation that has led you on the path to where you are now? Just something like I said, it's because sometimes when we've told people, we've given this exercise of, okay, tell me your story, and people like start with their whole life story. Okay, that's not exactly where we want to go. What we want to do is have something that helps other people connect with us. One of the things that I always remember, in that very first class, I think it was, Diana, that told us that her little boy, they had made a TikTok of him, of how he doesn't read. And I remember that to this day, I still remember that because I always felt like, oh my God, that poor little boy, you know. And she's telling the story, and that evokes an emotion. That evokes like, oh, we need to do something about that. Those are the kind of stories we need. And I'll tell you, not necessarily a story to where I'm leading these classes, but I'll tell you one a particular story of mine, that's kind of related to this. So I lived in California when I moved from Laredo to California, and in Laredo, you don't experience blatant racism and discrimination. I'm not gonna say that it doesn't exist, because it exists, but on a very systemic level. Um, but like, all of your teachers are Martinez and Gonzalez and everything. All of your city council leaders are Morenos and just all sorts of Hispanic names, because that's what we are. We're about 80-90% Hispanic, probably even more now. So I never really experienced any kind of racism or discrimination, like very blatant. Uh, when I went to California, I made a decision early on that I was only going to give trainings in Spanish, trainings and workshops. I was only going to give trainings and workshops in Spanish and working with the Latino population. And the reason that I came to that decision was something that happened to me. So in the very beginning, when I went to California, I got a job with the city. I was what they call then a childcare kind of like a childcare liaison with the city. So one of my first jobs, one of my first big tasks was, they were going to have this big awards dinner, and I was in charge of setting up the awards dinner and everything, and sending out the invitation and everything, and they were going to give these awards, and people were supposed to nominate people for these awards. And in California, because the educational restrictions are so high for childcare centers, there's only very few childcare centers, but there's a lot of homes that take care of children. They're called registered homes. And the town that I lived in was basically split half and half white and half agricultural. So agricultural, you know what that means. That means people that work in the field. So half, uh, you know, some are not even Mexican. They were like indigenous and that kind. So I would say it was split, maybe probably more than half. You know, at least 60% of the people in the town were either Spanish speaking or indigenous to Mexico, like that. So there was a lot of homes that took care of the children of these people that worked in the fields. So when I was in charge of doing that event, I went ahead and I made the invitation and the little ballot so you could nominate your favorite childcare provider. And I gave it to my boss, and said, okay, well, here's the little pamphlet. Check it over, please. And then I'll go ahead and I'll translate it into Spanish, because there was a lot of childcare providers who were all Spanish speaking. And I knew that. So I said, okay, here you go. Get it approved and then I'll translate it. So he does that and he presents it to his boss. And then he comes back to me and he says, yeah, he says it's okay. But we're not going to translate it into Spanish. And I'm like, well, why not? And he's like, well, he said that why are we going to translate it into Spanish? We're not going to send it out to Spanish because we're not going to have anything in Spanish for them. And that's what he told me. And I was like, yeah, like, what? What? And so I literally felt the blood rushing to my feet because like he must have seen my face because I must have turned white because he said, oh, he's a white guy, and so I just at that very same moment I made the decision that I was no longer going to work there, and B, I was only going to work with the Spanish speaking population. And I made that decision. And that's what I did. I probably quit probably by the end of the week, I already had a different job. And that's what I did when I was in California is I pretty much, I would say probably 80% of the work that I did was with the Spanish speaking population. I gave workshops in Spanish. I gave college classes in Spanish in different areas. So I made that decision. I came to that, decision because of what that one event that had happened, because of I was told that. And that just caused a reaction in me that said, no, this isn't right. I don't want this. I want something to change. And so what I would like for you all to do is to think about that, to think about if was there something, either some kind of situation or something that happened that said, you know what, I don't want things to be the same. I want some changes. I know that I need to do something. And again, it's not anything that you have to share with us just right now necessarily, but I want you to all think about that because that is your story. And I always go back to in this class, Miss Diana's story about her son and the TikTok they made. And I'm thinking that is the story because if I heard, if I was just a regular parent and I heard that story, I'd be like, yeah, let's do something about bullying. We need to do something. We can't just let it happen like that. And I'd want to be joining that community. I want to be joining that group. If she was like, let's start a group of parents that want to do something against bullying. Yeah, I'd want to, if I heard that story, I'd want to do that, even if I didn't have any children in the school. So I want you all to think about that just take maybe a couple of minutes to really think about that for yourselves, and think about maybe a story that led you to where you are right now, to taking these classes, to wanting to run for the school board, to wanting to help people, to want to really overcome those big fears about speaking in public and, making uh, getting over that fear, getting over those nerves to saying, I want to do something. And I want you to think about that and where was there something that happened that led you to this position. And I don't know, Maribel, if maybe you're ready to say something about that you can share.
I mean, I can always share you all. I think most of you all have heard pieces of my story and or my story, but I think the important piece that Liz is talking about here is like, what is that pivotal moment that made the change, right? Because from her story, and I'm reflecting, like, she became that change agent for herself. She's like, you know what? This is not right, and I'm gonna change the way that I'm doing things and my path. And I think about that because it really it doesn't matter what part, it just depends on where you're sharing it, right? You have many changes in your life. This is part of your journey. And there's like these key moments that impact you and change the trajectory of what you're doing or where you're going. So I think it's just more defining where you want to share, who you want to connect with, how you want them to perceive you, but really always open from your heart, right? And from the truth that is your story. Man, there's a lot of changes for me. I would say the one that changed the trajectory for my work as a graphic designer to a nonprofit director for this organization was really a conversation that I had with the teacher of my son, my first teacher. And there was two pieces that I remember being very impactful. The first one was her honesty and sharing with me that she was scared to teach him and scared and was unsure how to do that. And I just was like, that is the most honest somebody can be. And I appreciated that, right? Like, that's what I need for somebody to tell me. I don't need you to pretend that you know everything about special needs when you don't, right? So then I just was like, this is refreshing. I'm also scared. Now that we cleared that out, how do we move forward, right? So I think that was number one. The second one, where it was like, okay, we got to really change things, was when I was going into my ARDS and my teacher, the same teacher, would call me. When we would always call, and typically my teachers and I always talk before the ARDs because I always have concerns or I have questions. And she called me a sidebar, probably like 6 p.m. after school, and was like, hey, like, I just wanted to say, if you say it this way, you might get the thing you want, right? And I felt uneasy of the approach because I felt that the teacher was having to hide something, and instead of just saying this in front of the ARD committee, right? Like, it just felt like it was a side piece, side moment. Let me just tell you this advice. And then I started questioning, what else what else don't I know? Like, what else is she not telling me? Why is she feeling like she has to hide, or why does she feel like she has to tell me it in a side kind of way, right? Very secretive. And so I think that opened up my eyes to say, teacher, like, I had to reflect, right? And I'm like, okay, why is she doing this, right? I know she cared about my son. I know she had the best interest in mind, which I want everything like that for my son all the time, right? So that's great. But what is holding her back from saying this in a public setting? And I just started thinking that teachers are always held, right, as the most responsible person that's overseeing our kids. Like, it always falls on them, right? And I never blame teachers because everything falls on them. Oh, if he's not learning, the teacher. If he's not going, it's a teacher. If it's always the teacher, right? And I just thought, they are moms too. They have a job and they have to secure their job, right? Like, this is their job, and if they say something that might get them in trouble, or that the district might not want them to say, then that can cause an issue for her and her job, right? So I just realized in that moment that there was a lot of things that are not being said and done, and that we would never know until we start digging in, right? And really going into, like, what is the real truth about our education? And that's really what sparked me into saying, there's more to unpack here. I'm going to get to the bottom of it. I'm going to inform myself so that I can get everything I can for my son. And while I'm doing that, I'm gonna go and tell the other parents, because this is some stuff, right? This is not something to keep. And so that really changed, like, the way that I thought about, number one, teachers, the way I thought about the district, the way I thought that education worked, and the changes that could be done, right? And ultimately it led to this. So I think that was just one of those pivotal moments, right? And that's what you got to think about. What changed you? What changed the way you thought, and what changed the way you do things? Thanks, Liz.
Thank you, Maribel. Verónica told me her story. I don't. Verónica, ¿me dejas decir tu historia en inglés? Okay.
Sí,
Veronica told me her story, and I was really struck with it because I was like boca abierta, I was like, what? She was telling me how she was not used to having, in Mexico, the school is only like a half day, and here she is leaving her child for a full day. And so she was a little bit scared. So she was wanting to be a volunteer and stuff. And so she was volunteering in the schools, and kind of getting more involved in the schools. But she was having the issue that of the language barrier, that she, speaks Spanish, and she was asking for help. She didn't understand everything. And she says that one of the teachers told her, well, you're in America, so you need to learn English now. And with that, I was like, what? When she was telling me that, I was like, what? A teacher told you this? A teacher in San Antonio. Because I could believe it if it was happening, somewhere in the Midwest or something. I could believe those words coming out of a teacher's mouth. But a teacher in San Antonio saying that to a parent is just no. That is an absolute no. So she said that that's when she started wanting to become more involved and wanted to ask more questions. And she didn't know that she could ask for a translator. So that has led her into the path, maybe indirectly to where she kind of is now. But I was very struck with that, a teacher telling her those words that we sometimes read, that people get told, like, oh, you're in America, speak English, but we're not used to that. I mean, definitely not in a place like San Antonio. So, I that was her story. And those are the kind of things that, evoke an emotion in other people, make you want to be like, get all furious and say, what? No way. This is not fair. This is not right. And those are the things that will help you, find your tribe, find your community, or the stories that you're able to tell that evoke emotion, that make other people go, oh my gosh, no, or oh my gosh, yes, I've gone through that same exact thing, or oh my gosh, I need help with that. So those are the when you're telling your story, that's what we want. We want to be able to get people to somehow connect with us and be able to come to our side, be able to understand us, maybe want to join us. Okay. So let me go back to sharing here. All right. So and I said, again, this is something that you might want to be thinking about. I don't know that if anybody wants to share, you definitely don't have to, because I know that it's something that sometimes you kind of need to really reflect and think about for a little bit, and think about, okay, well, I think this is the story of where I'm at. So I don't know, does anybody want to share, or does anybody think that they have something that they might want to share?
I can share. For me, I can say the reason that pushed me to run for Edgewood School Board is my daughter. I assume that I had her in a dual language program. They told me that it's gonna be dual language. Kids that are just English speaking can go ahead and join this class, and she'll learn Spanish and English at the same time. And then so I allowed her to do the dual language again because I wanted her to be able to communicate with her grandparents and my grandma at the time. And so I went ahead and allowed her to go. So I wasn't involved in kindergarten. Her teacher was amazing. She would say, look, have her stay for tutoring so she can pick up Spanish. There's these apps here on that's only good for iPads. If you have an iPad, and I said, just let me know what I need to get so she can be successful in Spanish. Help me help you so that she's successful, because we both have a common ground. I didn't get involved into the district until for when my daughter was in first grade, because her kindergarten teacher was amazing. So I didn't feel like, oh, I I needed to be involved. I had the good communication with her. It wasn't till her first grade teacher where I said, okay, help me help you. What is it that she needs to do at home so that her Spanish can be to where she needs to be?
English, yes, I want her to learn English there too, but tell me where I can help you halfway. All the Spanish teacher, may God rest her soul, she passed away. But she said all she needs to do is just read books. And I'm like, okay, well, what kind of books? Oh, just Spanish books. And I said, well, Spanish books, what do you mean Spanish books? So all she kept throwing it was just pues libros, no más libros. And I was like, pues okay. So I just left it at that. I told my daughter she can read books, and she would pick the cat in the hat, just like my niece right now. She's in second grade. She wants to get the easiest books because, again, she doesn't have to read. She doesn't have to stimulate her brain. So I said, no, Lex, you need to go ahead and push yourself, push andale con ánimo, like, let's do it. So then third grade, okay. She had a good third grade teacher that pushed her, and he would even give her homeworks on weekends. And I was like, oh yeah, amazing. I love this. Okay. It wasn't until when she was in fourth grade, COVID happened. And I was just like, okay, you know what? I'll just go ahead and teach you what I know. Because obviously they're trying to figure out what's going on. I said, and we ain't got time to figure it out. We got to just focus on getting your studies, because guess what? Time's still going. You need to go. So let's go. So then I realized when she went back to school in fifth grade, she did not know how to spell the word what, WHAT, as a fifth grader. And I said, what? Like, and she goes, what? She was spelling it WAHT, exactly the way it sounds. And I said, no, ma'am. I said, you need to, mind you, she wasn't even getting a certified dual language teacher. So there were English teacher teaching the Spanish kids. And I was just like, that doesn't sound right. That's not correct. So I would go and I would find, and I said, hey, what's going on? Why are we not getting certified Spanish speaking teachers that are teaching our students? I said, and if my daughter is the one struggling, I imagine how many other students are struggling. I said, and if their first language is Spanish, they're even struggling even more because the parents probably don't know how to read, write, and speak English. I said, so we need to help those students. Oh, well, they're going to learn English. They're going to learn English along the way. And I said, no, it needs to start now. So I took my daughter out of Edgewood and put her in SAISD. As actually, I had already planned to take her out, but we got her to try to see if she'll get accepted to the all-girls school in SAISD. And I was already like, you know what? I know she's not going to get accepted. I know that she's lacking so much, that this school is so rigorous that she's not even going to be able to make it. So I was already having doubts in my mind that she wasn't even able to attend this school. But I said, let's just try it. Let's see what happens. Well, God was on our side. She was accepted. But sixth grade was our hardest, where she was like, Mom, I don't even want to go to university. I don't want to go to college. This is too hard for me. I can't write essays. I can't do this. And I said, well, you know what, Alexis? I don't want to hear what you can't, because that can change. I am up at 1:00 in the morning with you, as much as I'm tired and falling asleep because I'm tired of hearing the story back to your thing. But I'm here. Dad's asleep. Let him stay asleep, but I'm here. Let's do it. Let's get it done. So then that's when I realized, my daughter was blessed to have me as a mom, to stay up at night, helping her, pushing her as much as she was tired. And she was like, I'm ready to give up. But there's parents and there's kids out there that can't do that. They don't have that opportunity. They don't have that support. And I want to be that support. I feel like I can do that. If I can do it for my daughter, I can do it for those families, and I can do it for those families and students that feel like they don't have that support in their system, in their home. So that's my why. That's my goal, my push, my drive to run for Edgewood. But even if I don't win, because again, for me, it's not about winning. It's more of, even if I don't, guess what? I'm still going to continue advocating for those families and still pushing them and still helping them in every way possible I can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, good. And no, it's good because I don't think that parents have that support. A lot of them don't have that. So they need it. A lot of these parents need it wherever they can get it. So it's definitely, it's very much needed. So when we're talking about telling our story, again, just, we want to refine our message, and we want to make it so that uh, uh, we're able to tell it to people, and we're able to inspire other people, make that connection. Maybe somebody else is saying, hey, you know what, my child is going to Edgewood and they're not able to, they're not good spellers either, they're super behind, they're this, they're that, they're that, they want to get more from their school there, or at least have them at grade level, that's for sure. So um how are we going to do this? How are we going to make our story reach them? Okay, so what we want to do is make sure that our story has a beginning and an end, and always remember the point you are trying to make. And again, that whole, as Latinos, we talk this is and this. Okay, so we say, okay, this is how I started, this is why I made this decision, and that's why I'm doing this. Kind of the way that Dorothy just did. She said that's why I'm running for school board, because I want to be a support for parents. Okay. And of course, we want to practice telling that story. We want to be able to tell it to everybody, practice it, have them tell us, okay, what do I need to work on? Remember that when you're telling a story, you're not just describing what happened. You have to kind of be there in that moment, and make us feel the emotion, how you were affected, how you reacted, and how you're maybe a different person because you went through that moment, or you went through that situation. Um, Also, remember when you're with your ending, what you want to do with your ending is show how you underwent this transformation, right? Over the course of your story, and tie it back just the way that you did, just the way that you said, and that's why I want to run for school board. I was this parent, I was this kind of parent that I just trusted that the school was going to do a good job, and I learned this information that they weren't actually doing that, and so now I want to make a difference. I want to make a change. All right. So this is how we're able to, when we're telling our story, we're able to get our community with us, because maybe somebody else is having that same issue and they didn't know. Or maybe they don't even know that that issue is happening because they're just so trusting that, oh yeah, the school is doing its job, just like you were, just like Dorothy was. She was trusting that things were happening that were supposed to happen when that was actually not the case. All right, and again, these are just very, we're just going to touch upon these because there's actually whole classes that we're going to be doing on this topic. But I just wanted to go ahead and put those at that one, the first thing is being able to find our voice, tell our story, all that, practice that public speaking. And then that's where we're able to get our community together. And I don't know if Melody, since Dorothy already did her story, if I can get you to read what it says.
Building community is about bringing people together and creating a sense of belonging. It is about building connections and working together for a common goal.
Yeah. So we find our community, we find our people who want to make a difference, either for Edgewood or the school district that we're in. We want to we want to be number one, make them feel that they have a place with us, right? And build those connections with those other parents who are maybe having those same issues. and find out basically what it is find your tribe, like all of you have found each other and you all want to be leaders in this district. So now we got to find more people who want to do this, right? And then the last part of it, and again, where there's actually a whole other section of this parents uh, Academy of Powerful Parents, which is concerning about advocacy. So again, I'm just kind of touch on it, but if I Dorothy, I don't know if you can go ahead and read that if you're able to, if you're not driving anymore.
Yes, it says leadership skills becoming an advocate. Advocacy means providing support to others to help them express yours and their views and wishes and help them stand up for their rights.
Yes, perfect. So we just kind of what you said, help other parents, support other parents, be their voice sometimes. And people like me and Maribel, we don't know how to do this whole thing of being in the background. We're not those people. It's like all our lives, we're the type of people. I don't know how it is in our family, but that's the way it is. All of our lives, everybody has been like, they've nudged us like, tú dile, you tell them. You know, because we're the ones that have, I don't know, I guess loud voices, or I don't know, nobody showed us how to be quiet. so so we're like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna say what everybody, what I feel the injustices are, because nobody's ever taught me that I should be quiet about that. So this is kind of what it means to be an advocate, is to help others be able to express those, and also teach them how to advocate for themselves.
No tengas miedo is what I remember.
Yes.
One of
Yeah.
the things that I'm gonna really quickly share, because it's actually related to Liz's dad, that it's like, those core memories, right, that you remember. And I remember this core memory. I was probably around 8, maybe 7, and there was a party because our familias, I mean, especially your dads and your families, right, would always have these really great parties. And it was a kids' party, and I don't remember whose it was, but I remember my Theo would have like he was like a clown, right? And he would like to like do like all this exciting like stuff, right, for kids. And he had this thing that would shake, and I don't know what it was, but he covered it in a colchita, and it would shake. So it was probably some kind of animatronic. I don't know what it was, but his whole thing was, who wants to like see what it is? And I was like, I want to know. Like, I remember like wanting to go touch this thing, right? Because it was shaking, and I was just a little girl. And then he's like, mírala, no tiene miedo. Like, he's just like, ella quiere agarrarlo. And that stuck with me, right? I'm like, no, I'm fearless. Like, I want to know, right? And I think that has stuck with me throughout my years, just like him pointing out that I was fearless at that moment. And it just was like, yeah, I am a tough girl. I am like a fearless girl. Like, that's cool, right? And I think those things impact you. So, advocacy, I think, is always not, it's never been called that in our familia. I think it's something that we have just been taught that it's okay to speak up and just like share, and we're vocal, and we accept that. And I think that kind of transcends into now, right? I don't like to be in the limelight. I mean, I say like I think you see differently, right? I'm there and I want to speak, but I speak on an issue because I feel like there's something wrong. Right. And it's not because I like it. And like I reflect a little bit on Dorothy saying, I public speaking, yeah, it's not my thing either. But I think when you just, there is this like tickle or this like urge when you're sitting there and you hear all this BS, right? You hear this stuff and you're like, no puedo decir nada. Like, I cannot not say anything. I have to say something. I have to say something. And that comes from within side of us, right? And I think it's when you learn that people are being treated unfair, it's unjust, it's causing hurt, it's causing damage, we inside people here that you're here today, we just can't stay quiet, even if we're the most quietest mouse. We just can't stop, right? Like even if it's an email, even if it's a phone call, even if it's a post, even if you stand up in front of an audience of 100 people, you just can't think about what you're going to say. You just say it from your heart. So just saying, reflecting on that, but it comes from la familia también, and it comes from our core. So I thank you all for being those brave women to
Yes.
stand up, speak up, no matter qué te van a decir, because you know what? If you're doing something right, people are going to criticize you. So it doesn't matter. Like, let them hate you, let them talk about you, son las chismosas. Okay, but we're still not going to be quiet. All right.
I like
I'll
I
see
like what you said, and just talking about last night. I mean, that was my aunt that spoke in the very end, the employees. So I was scared for her because she is an employee, but I was proud. And I'm like, hey, that's where I get my don't be quiet from.
you get the fire. Yep, it comes
Yeah.
from within us. And I do think this is like everybody has it, every culture has it, but us being Latinos, like I think we're just built that much stronger and tougher because we've had to fight for stuff. Like they always like because I've faced a lot of adversity in doing this work, even from our own Latinos that are like, you should know, even los que hablan español deben de saber. Like they should learn English, right? Like I felt like that's what was said yesterday, like, oh well, like, they should learn. I felt like that was a comment made at last night's forum, where
Hmm.
the reality is, why can't we just say, you know what, everybody learns differently, everybody wants to learn. How can we bridge that gap versus saying, ni modo, it is what it is, do it or not. Like, it's really a matter of fact. So I do think that there's a fire within our Latinos because we've had to build from so little to so much, where a lot of people have already had that advantage of starting at the top and just growing. And so we're just trying to catch up, and we just fight and we fight and we luchamos y luchamos, right? And I think that's part of our advocacy. I think it just comes from within. We just got to find it. Cool. I just wanted to add that. Sorry, I was super inspired. But I
No,
added
no,
these pictures because I hope it gives you motivation, because
no.
see yourself in that. Like we come from warriors, man. Like we are luchones, we are warriors. Like see yourself as such, and it'll keep you going.
Yes, thank you. And I just want to put a little bit about things that we, our steps to becoming things that you want to do when you're going to become an advocate. And number one is do your research. And when you were talking about, how you felt like you were told, well, they need to learn English, and all that stuff. And because I did the research on that whole, Title One and all that, I read all of that stuff. And even though it was like, oh my gosh, like, I need a law degree here to be reading this stuff, I saw, and it was made very clear to me that the schools have to provide that translation for people with language barriers. It specifically says that. That is something that is right there in the statutes, and it says that if, they have to make that information available to people with language barriers. So it doesn't matter even if it was Spanish and people requesting Spanish, if it was in if the parent is Nigerian and they want it in Nigerian, the school has a responsibility to provide it. I don't care. They can be all unhappy about it or whatever. They have to provide it. And because I did that research, I would absolutely feel very, very comfortable saying, well, you know what? It says that you have to do it. TEA says that you are required to do it. I don't care how you're going to do it, but you're going to do it. And I feel very comfortable because, again, I did the research. And when you're wanting to become an advocate, research is one of your best friends. Even if you don't necessarily do the research yourself, but if you have somebody else do it for you or look it up for you, or however you're going to do it, but be able to get that research behind it, be able to read, be able to get that information, so so you're ready with the facts, you're ready with the statutes. Well, you know what? And that's, I even put it there, if anybody needs that for their Title Ones, it says the statute where it says, um, is on Title One in section this and whatever. It says that you as a school have to provide help for people with who have language issues to get this information from us. So, you know, I don't know how you're gonna do it, but you're gonna have to do it, and that's the way it is. And when you have the research behind you, or you're able to say, well, oh, it's the parents' fault, it's the parents' fault. Okay, well, is the parents' fault? You're telling me it's the parents' fault, but so many percent of children are not reading at grade level in this school. Are you really going to tell me that it's the parents' fault when, this school has so many people that are employed in it? So many school teachers, so many with this or that. When you're able to recite those facts and figures, those things are your best friends, because those things, facts, there's no way to argue against them. People can be mad and say, well, this and this, it's the parents. No, the facts are these. These are the facts. Okay, then you can't argue with facts. I don't care what you think. You cannot argue with facts. And people screaming the words does not make it a fact. Okay, so doing your research on these things is so important, to have that backing behind you, right? And that's what, again, why I think it's so important to have those statues, and be able to find that information and say, what, TA says that you have to do this. Okay, so I'm sorry, it's part of your mandate. You may not like it, but it's part of your mandate. And remember that, here with all of these parents that speak Spanish, okay, you might not like those parents because, oh, they require extra work. But those parents, those children bring money into your school. And if those children went somewhere else, you would have less money. So, that's the way it is. It's again a fact. Those children, if they feel that this school is not meeting their needs, because you're not meeting this school is not meeting your needs as parents, because they don't give you information, because they don't give you what you need, they don't honor your rights. Well, you could pick your child up, and there goes their $8,000 to $10,000 that they're receiving from your child. And we've already seen the outcome of what happens when there's not enough kids in the schools. The schools get closed, and that's the way it is.
I did add in the chat for you all, texasschools.gov is an essential tool for, especially if you're looking into finding out and digging into numbers and, percentages and rates and all the things, education. Look there. And I would say you can research not only every individual school, but you can even individualize it by district. So you can just put Edgewood District or Edgewood ISD, and it'll pop up, what rating that school is, how much money it has. We've talked about this before, but I did want to share it again because I know a lot of us here are focused on bettering our school communities, and this could give you a lot of those essential facts. You just need a couple to really state that are going to be important. And so I wanted to share that with you. Thanks, Liz.
So do your research, educate yourself, learn about the issues and the challenges, and understand your rights and the laws, the politics, kind of the procedures. That all of that is going to help you. The better you educate yourself, and you learn the facts and figures, those things that are very boring but are very important, because those are the things that, again, people cannot argue with facts. They might want to, but they cannot. And find your community. Once as you're working on your public speaking, you're letting people hear you. Go to all of these board meetings. Go to all of these. Meet your candidates. All of those things, so that you can be able to make yourself known. and find the people. Maybe some of those people might have walked up to you last night and said, "Hey, you did a great job," or "Oh, I'm going through the same thing," or maybe they just want to support you because they're so impressive with the great job that you did. So we want to find out and build that community, or maybe the community already exists and they just need to find you. So you want to make yourself known and go out and go and do this and get yourself known in the community. Um, and maybe even volunteer your time to getting involved in the community, making yourself more known. You build those relationships with other people, maybe even with politicians, who knows, it just depends. Then once we kind of get that community around us, we want to define our message, our goal, either our message, goal, and what are the strategies. We want to talk to everybody and see what's going on. Remember, as a leader, we're not just focused on our own thing that we want to accomplish, but we want to get the input from other people and try and build a consensus, build up, okay, well, this seems to be a big thing that's going on. So maybe we need to focus on this. And also think about your own limitations. Maybe the thing is that the school district really needs a lot of money. And you've all looked at the budget and you said, oh yeah, there's definitely not enough money. Okay, well, maybe that's something that you all are not going to be able to help too much, because those things are things that are allocated. So maybe your focus can be on not necessarily things um, that are almost impossible to change, but what can we change? What are some things that we can work on? Okay, within our limitations. And you want to go ahead and as an advocate, you want to be passionate, just like I heard from Dorothy, from Belinda and Melody. We want to be passionate about what we're doing. Because the truth of it is, especially with something like the school system, again, they don't like change, and everything they do is very slow. The bigger the institution is, the slower it is to change things. So you're gonna come up against obstacles. You're gonna come up against, oh yeah, well, we're gonna do it, but we might think about doing it next year. So it's like you have to keep yourself up with when these are very long-term goals, because people want things right away, and especially with something big like a school system, it doesn't happen overnight, right? And again, just that whole communication, being able to express yourself clearly, being able to listen, listen to the other people around you and listen to what they're saying. Remember those things, take notes, and stay true to your message, right? And I think that probably, if you all, I haven't seen the video yet, but I heard from you all as well. It was obvious that some people who have already been there a long time didn't do that great of a job as far as actually having some kind of message, or even seeming like they were very educated about things and issues. So we don't want to be those people. Maybe we might be nervous about talking. Maybe we, aren't the greatest public speakers, and we haven't practiced at expressing ourselves that, as well. But at least we want to be educated so that we know when somebody's giving us, not having to say that word, but we know when somebody's just giving us a line, right? Or they're
We
like
could say it
talking.
like Madagascar, Bushkovich. I mean, I agree, honestly. And I wanted to make a comment on the Spanish as well. When people are embarrassed to speak Spanish, Me personally, I always tell families that speak Spanish, and Miss Veronica, she heard me yesterday. I said my Spanish is chafa, but I'm not embarrassed. I will try my best to get the point across and hear your needs. And that was one of the questions that they asked me, and my response was, we need to try. For one, we need to meet them and learn Spanish. We can, just as much as you're eager to learn certain things. I mean, we need to have those. We need to be able to push ourselves to learn it. I mean, we're in San Antonio, and it's sad to say that, oh, I'm embarrassed to speak Spanish. Or I can't do that. Um, I've grown from the time that I met my in-laws to now. I can honestly, I even sometimes surprise myself and be like, dang, I didn't know I knew that word in Spanish. What? And so, I mean, if you continue to talk to somebody in Spanish, and I mean, even listening to novelas or just the radio station, and my daughter goes, "You're an Osabo kid, mom." And I said, "Yeah, I'm proud of it." And she goes, "But it's so funny because when you sing a song in Spanish, you know it so perfectly." And I said, "Yeah, I'm todo Selena," because Selena was like that too. She couldn't.
Yes,
And so
she
she was
could.
like, "Yeah, right, mom," whatever. But I mean, it's just having the passion. And I feel like great, like now, like looking back, I mean, there was so many things I wanted to say again at the forum to um the incumbent that was there, and he was trying just to pretty much just say that what they are doing is already correct. But yet if it's correct, then why are we having these issues? Why are we still the same? And there's no improvement. And if he's content with, oh, we have improvement 1 to 2 points, and you're content with that, like I'm not okay with just moving 1 to 2 points. It's just like I feel like their animal, their passion is no longer there for the right reasons. And I wish we could have like had each of us had a mic so we can interrupt and say, hey, no, because if it was so that they could actually see, like, we did have our stuff together. Like Mr. Sergio and Jubilee feels like they didn't do good. But like I said, this is our first time, and I mean, I feel like there's some things that I probably missed as well. I mean, we couldn't get it all in. Um, but I feel like even at that, all of our points were pretty much is the same thing. It's just some people were trying to overpower other people or make them feel belittled. And that's the thing, is that his the way he presented himself made Jubilee feel belittled. And I feel that's where she kind of felt like, and I kind of was like prepping her through the beginning of it. I was like, come outside with me because it's too intense. So I was prepping her up. I was like, I'm nervous. Are you nervous? Like, so when Belinda was saying fixing each other's crown, like I kind of felt that. And I was like, you know what, she's right. I was like, okay, Jubilee, you got this, don't worry. People were coming in and I was talking to them while leading them the way, and Jubilee's like, I'm really nervous. I go, but don't worry, you got this. Just don't forget. But what I felt, and I'm like, man, I should have told her, but I can't beat myself up. But again, it's like, okay, I should have told her, don't worry about where to look at. Don't look at the people. If you want, just look at your mom and just go with what it is. But I guess I would hope, like, if we have another forum, I would ask the people just to have, or the facilitator to have note cards or paper there so that we can write, because that's what I used. I saw that there was a note card and it said for questions, but I took an advantage and I got one and I wrote all my answers down while they were reading the question. And I think that would have helped everybody and not feel like, oh, you know what, I was blank. But I mean, everything that was said is just like, and I was surprised myself because there was a nerve that kind of hit me and my blood was boiling. There was a lady, no names mentioned, but she said, then the parents are bad parents. I right away stood up. I was like, Miss Maribeth, give me the mic. Like, oh my God. Like, because I was like, and I stood up and I said, for one, there is no such thing as bad parents. I said, because there's not a parenting book on parents. And if there's a bad parent, then I guess I'm a bad parent as well. I said, then I will put my shoes in that pot that you said that we're bad parents, because I'm involved, but I guess I'm a bad parent. And I told my mom after that, I said, Mom, I can't believe like I compelled myself and I hold in a lot of things that I really wanted to say. I said, Jesus took the wheel, because oh my God, if it was the real Dorothy, no, hombre, olvídate. Like it was just like, that was something. You don't go and you don't bring down families because you're not getting what you want, or you're not happy, or you're already content with where everything's at. But guess what? There's other families that are struggling. The world does not revolve around you. And I feel like that's what I wanted to tell her. But again, being a candidate, it wouldn't have sound right. And it would have been like I was retaliating to her. But I mean, I can't forget that really did strike a nerve, and my blood was boiling. And my daughter was like, Mom, I'm proud of you. Because honestly, I wanted to tell her something. She goes, because she has no right to call, because she doesn't know what their families are going through. And to call them bad parents, that's not nice. So
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Dorothy. And yeah, Melody, I saw that you had taken yourself off of mute. Were you going to say something?
I just said you did great, Dorothy. I mean, I'm proud of myself. I held my tongue just because I did not want to go up there, but I'm proud on how you addressed it. And thank you too for talking with Jubilee in the beginning. I saw you out there. That was really touching. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, and what we can do to kind of, it's tough when you are going up and doing this for the very first time, especially if you haven't practiced. And that's one of the things that you can do, especially since you all are all candidates together, is maybe just kind of have those kind of discussions, have those kinds of questions. So when you are asked those, you kind of practice, and it's all about practice. I mean, even myself, I've probably done hundreds of these. And I still, every night, that's the last thing I do before I go to bed on a Wednesday, is go through all of my slides and practice what I'm going to say. With Veronica, we kind of go over each slide, and I tell her, okay, this is my objective for this slide, and this is what I want, so we go over those things because we want to go ahead and we don't know what's going to happen. Like I said, I've done this probably, like I said, hundreds and hundreds of times, but I might lose my internet, or we might lose a Zoom, or my slides might not work, or it just, those are things that happen, and you have to be kind of a little bit prepared. So you want to go over that. So definitely, and again, I'm just touching on this because we are going to have more classes on this, but things that you can do to prepare a little bit for this is to meet as a little group and kind of practice your answers and practice talking. The more you do it, the better you get at it. That's just the way it is. All right. And in that vein, I would definitely advise you all um, to go and do that as often as you can. There's opportunities that parents have to participate and exercise their voices. Can any of you all think about what those opportunities are? Like, what are things that you can attend to kind of be able to practice, or maybe make your feelings known about how you think things are going? Can you all think of some of those things, some of those meetings? Or
I think, to be honest, I mean, Melody and I mean, and it goes with Belinda and Aggie, we send each other events and we say, hey, can you make it? Or for example, yesterday, Melody is like, sent us a picture of an event that was happening. And I said, are you going? She goes, I'll go if you go. And I said, okay, I'll go. But me not realizing that I was gonna go to my nephew's school and advocate for him because there's bullying going on there with the bus driver. And so I'm in Crocs and the jeans that are all ripped, a cut up shirt with a sports bra underneath. I say todo tirada, but I go to the event and not thinking that I'm gonna do a public speaking or I'm gonna go and say that I'm a candidate. And I told Melody, because it was just something that I felt, and I said, man, lesson learned. Now I have to know for a fact that every morning, even if I'm gonna go drop off my daughter at school and my little one at learning center, I'm always gonna dress to impress because you never know. And I literally went up and did a speech, and I told Melody how embarrassing. I'm in Crocs, a torn up jeans, torn up shirt, like, and my hair was in a bun. I was like pretty much mommy mode. um and she goes, no worry, don't worry about it. But I mean, I was like, okay, there. But we always communicate, hey, are you going to go to this event? I'll be there, or we're going. So we always collaborate, or we always let each other know what events are going around so that we can attend them all, so that not only can we advocate for parents, but so that we can also get the knowledge as well. Because again, we're the ones that we don't claim to know it all, but we will definitely try to figure out how we can help those families.
Yeah. Those school board meetings, though, if they offer you a chance to go to those site-based decision-making committees, or they offer you to chance, they a lot of these schools don't have parents that go to go on committees. Sometimes you kind of also have to pressure them a little bit, or tell them, hey, if you have a committee to do this or that, let me know. I want to be on it. Even though maybe it's like they don't want you. I know, we don't want that person. She's just a troublemaker. But tell them, I want to be on that committee. I'll make time to go and do that. The parent teacher organizations in school, they're also all of those things are ways to, maybe they won't get you where to actually be a leader, because I would say the PTA PTO, they're not always the best places to go if you want to make uh, changes, because they're basically seen as like ayudantes, kind of like just like to help the teachers out. But at least it's a way to make connections with other parents, talk to them. Definitely, if they're Spanish speaking parents, you can make connections with them. And maybe they're having issues that they are not able to talk to anybody about. All of these things are just, little ways to build your network of people and build your little community, so that when you are wanting to make these changes, you already have people on your side. Those volunteer opportunities, the opportunities to go on field trips and everything, all of these are ways to start building that community and also exercising your voice, right? To be able to feel more comfortable talking to people and all of that. And also whenever you're going to meet with your teacher, that's a good way, especially if you're not used to that, basically even talking, because some parents are just not used to, they just are get so nervous even just talking to the teacher. um, that's a good way to start practicing. Any of those councils and committees, all of those things are good ways to start doing that, engaging in that practice of being able to talk more and get more and more comfortable with speaking in public. All right, it's almost time, and so we want to go ahead and just discuss our homework. And we wanted to go ahead and have you set a meeting with your teacher to discuss your most recent map test. And some of you might have already done it, but in case you have, just go ahead and you're already ahead. We want to go ahead and have you discuss your most recent map test with your child. Again, just a little exercise in talking and speaking and getting used to asking for your rights, getting used to exercising your rights. And then at the next class, you're going to be we're going to have some time where you're going to let us know how your meeting went and what the results were. All right. So that's going to be part of your homework. And some of you might not be able to have your meeting before the next class day. That's fine, but we want you to go ahead and just set the meeting at least. All right, and hopefully be able to report back to us on how it went. And then the second part of your homework is we want you to start your first draft of your story. Write it down. Remember that we're going to use that story to connect with others, to be able for them to see this is where I started, and this is why you should listen to me, because I went through this, and maybe somehow or other it's going to connect with you. Maybe somehow or other you're going to feel, I'm going to make you feel something about it, but I want you all to start just kind of doing a little maybe first draft of your story. All right, so those are going to be your homework, um, for the next class day. And then there's your exit ticket. And Maribel, did you put it on the chat?
Not yet, but I am going to do it right now.
Okay.
Exit tickets. Yep. Yep, I'm gonna put this exit ticket. So the exit ticket will tell us, give us, I think there's like a quick feedback, but really just lets us know how you felt about this class, any comments, and just to also check you in here to make sure that we're tracking your attendance, even though we are recording. But if you would do us that favor, exit ticket to get it on here. Here it is, August. Okay. Hopefully it'll copy the right way. Tell me if you see it. It is in the chat. There it is. So hopefully you can get it. I'm gonna actually click on it too, just to make
Yes.
sure. Okay, great. And then
All right.
class 4. Yep.
Okay, and that is pretty much the end of our class. Our next class day is
October 10.
okay.
October 10.
And so we will see you back at that time. Remember, we want you to set a meeting to discuss your map results, and report back to us how it all went, as far as how you felt about it, and also write the first draft of your story. If you're gonna become a leader, you want to run for office. How are you going to, your story is something that's going to be used to motivate people, to motivate them and make them feel like, oh, you know what, she's right. I want to vote for her because she's right about that. So we want to go ahead and start that. It's all just little steps in being, developing all these skills that are going to really help you become a leader. All right. I want to thank you all for coming to our class. And thank you so much for attending the meeting last night. And thank you, Dorothy and Melody, for all the work that you do for the parents.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, Maribel, last night. We appreciate you.
Thank you
Like
all. I'll be
good
in touch.
turnout.
Check your text messages. I just texted you.
Okay.
Bye.
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 Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye, Dorothy. We'll be in touch.
Bye.